What if I told you that men don't actually reveal their real feelings through big romantic gestures or constant compliments, but through something far smaller that most women completely overlook? Once you learn to notice it, all the confusion, mixed signals, and overthinking start to make sense. You finally begin to see what's really going on beneath the surface. Because the truth is, a lot of women focus on the wrong things. They try to decode his texts, track how often he calls, or wait for him to directly say how he feels. But men usually don't express genuine attraction that way. What really gives them away is their body language and subtle shifts in behavior around you, things so automatic that they don't even realize they're doing them. It's not about guessing or creating stories in your head. It's about recognizing the physical changes that happen when a man's guard drops and he actually starts caring. And once you notice it, everything becomes clearer. If you've ever felt unsure about a guy's feelings, you're not alone. One moment he seems fully engaged, laughing and interested, and the next you're questioning whether he even cares.
You start wondering if he's just being polite, if you're imagining things, or if there's something deeper you're missing right in front of you. Here's the reality most people don't talk about. Men and women show interest differently. Women often rely on words, emotional expression, and direct communication. Men, on the other hand, tend to reveal how they feel through movement, attention, and unconscious physical choices. And if you don't understand that difference, you can easily misread someone who is actually very interested in you. You might have experienced this before, being with a guy who laughs at your jokes, asks questions, and seems fully present. Everything feels like it's going well, but you still end up wondering where you stand. The confusion usually comes from looking for answers in the wrong places. Because while you're focusing on what he says, the real answer is showing up in what he does. A man who is attracted to you doesn't always make it obvious with words. Instead, his body starts to shift in subtle ways when he's around you. The way he positions himself, where his attention goes, how he reacts without thinking. These are the real signals. And once you understand them, you stop second-guessing everything. This changes the entire experience of dating. Instead of analyzing every message or replaying conversations in your mind, you start noticing patterns in behavior. You stop relying on guesswork and start seeing consistency in actions. That's when things become a lot less stressful and a lot more honest.
Women who understand this don't waste time being confused about where they stand.
They don't sit in uncertainty trying to decode mixed signals. They just recognize what's real and what isn't. It gives them clarity, confidence, and a much better sense of who is genuinely interested and who is not. Because when you only pay attention to words and surface level actions, you miss the deeper signals happening underneath. Texting style, frequency of contact, and even compliments can be misleading. Some men text just out of boredom. Some are naturally expressive, and others may like you but not be great at communicating digitally. So none of that gives you the full picture. The same goes for how often he reaches out. A busy schedule, personal habits, or even personality type can all affect communication patterns. It doesn't always reflect how someone truly feels. And words themselves, they can be the most misleading part. Someone can say all the right things without meaning them, or struggle to express themselves even when their feelings are strong. So relying on language alone often leads to confusion. Even eye contact, which many people see as a strong indicator, isn't always reliable. Some people naturally maintain eye contact with everyone. Others avoid it even when they're interested. On its own, it doesn't tell the full story. The key is understanding that most visible signals women rely on are surface level. They seem meaningful, but they don't always reflect true attraction. Men often don't announce their feelings. Instead, they reveal them through subtle physical behavior, small unconscious shifts that happen when they feel drawn to someone. And this is exactly where most confusion begins. Because while you're searching for obvious signs, the real ones are happening quietly in the background. Once you start noticing these patterns, everything changes. You stop guessing, you stop overanalyzing, and instead, you begin to see the truth in his behavior. That's what makes dating feel clearer, calmer, and far more grounded. This is what modern love code is all about. Understanding what's really happening beneath the surface so you can finally stop doubting and start seeing things as they truly are. They miss the one move that never lies, the one physical signal that quietly separates friendly from interested, polite from emotionally invested, casual from serious. Because the truth is, if you really want to understand how a man feels, you have to stop over-focusing on what he says and start paying attention to what his body is doing. His words can be controlled, edited, even masked, but his body almost always reveals the truth underneath. And even if you've already noticed a few signs here and there, even if the interaction feels good or confusing or unclear, there is still one movement that cuts through all uncertainty. One simple physical shift that makes everything obvious. Most women completely miss it, even when it's right in front of them. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But before we get to what it is, it's important to understand why it matters so much. This isn't just another body language trick. It's the difference between guessing and actually knowing how someone feels about you. So what is this move? It's actually very simple. When a man is truly interested in you, he turns his entire body toward you. Not just his head, not just his eyes, his whole body. Shoulders, chest, hips, and even his feet naturally align in your direction, and he keeps it that way. And here's why that matters so much. When people are just being polite or casually engaged, their attention is divided. They might look at you, smile, respond, even seem present, but their body tells a different story. Their feet might point toward the exit, their shoulders slightly angled away, their posture not fully open. It's attention, but it's not investment. But when a man is genuinely attracted to you, something shifts without him realizing it. His body reorients. He faces you directly. His chest points toward yours. If he's sitting, his knees naturally angle in your direction. If he's standing, his stance subtly aligns with you. It's as if his entire physical presence is saying, "You've got my full attention right now." And the key thing is, this isn't calculated. It's not rehearsed. It happens automatically when interest is real. The body always follows focus, and when someone becomes emotionally drawn to you, their physical positioning naturally reflects that pull. Think about it in simple terms. When something doesn't matter much, you glance at it. But when something captures your full attention, your whole body turns toward it. Attraction works the same way. A man who is just being polite will still give you eye contact, still respond, still appear engaged, but his body stays partially detached, ready to shift away. There's no full commitment in his physical presence. But when he's truly into you, there's a different energy. He doesn't just acknowledge you, he aligns with you. It's subtle, but it's powerful. His body is essentially saying without words, "I'm here, I'm with you, I'm not looking for an exit." And this is where things start to become clearer. Because once you understand this, you begin to notice patterns you never saw before. You start realizing that many moments you once found confusing actually had answers in plain sight. You were just looking in the wrong place. But this one signal doesn't appear alone. It usually comes with a few other subtle behaviors that strengthen the message. For example, you'll often notice he leans in slightly when you speak. Not in an exaggerated way, but just enough to close distance. That natural forward movement shows engagement and interest. You may also notice stillness. When a man is really focused on you, he becomes less distracted. He stops checking his surroundings, stops fidgeting, stops reaching for his phone. His attention locks in, and his body reflects that focus. Then there are his hands. When interest is real, men often become more expressive. They use their hands more while talking, and their gestures tend to stay open rather than closed off. There's a sense of natural openness in how they carry themselves. Another subtle sign is mirroring. Without realizing it, he may start copying your posture or movements. If you lean back, he shifts back. If you adjust your position, he adjusts too. This isn't intentional. It's a natural sign of connection and alignment. And finally, pay attention to what happens when other people enter the space. A man who is genuinely interested may acknowledge others, but his core orientation still stays with you. His body may slightly adjust for social awareness, but his main focus doesn't shift away. When you put all of this together, a clear pattern emerges. Real interest isn't just shown in words or gestures. It's shown in physical alignment, attention, and presence. Because here's the deeper truth. Men can manage what they say. They can control how they text. They can even shape their facial expressions. But their body language tends to reveal what's actually happening beneath the surface. And when a man consistently orients his entire body toward you, stays present, remains engaged, and naturally leans into your space, you're not dealing with politeness anymore. You're dealing with genuine interest. The important part is this. It doesn't happen randomly. Men don't give that level of physical focus to everyone. It's reserved for people who actually pull their attention in a meaningful way. That's why this signal matters so much. It doesn't rely on interpretation or guesswork. It's something you can observe directly. And once you start noticing it, you stop relying on confusion, overthinking, or endless analysis. You begin to see what's real and what's just surface level interaction. Now, before we move any further, there's something important we need to talk about. The mistakes women make once they actually start noticing these signs. Because understanding what to look for is only half of it. The way you respond is what really shapes what happens next. And this is where a lot of women unintentionally push a good connection away, even when the guy is clearly interested. So let's break down where things usually go wrong. The first mistake is overthinking everything. You notice him turning towards you, leaning in, giving you full attention. And instead of simply staying present in the moment, your mind starts racing. Does he actually like me? Or is he just naturally like this with everyone? You start analyzing it, doubting it, second guessing what you just clearly saw. And while you're stuck in your head, the real moment passes you by. The truth is simple. If his body is showing interest consistently, trust what you're seeing instead of arguing with it in your mind. The second mistake is reacting too intensely too quickly. You pick up on the signs, you feel excited, and suddenly you're all in. More texting, more availability, more energy than the situation has naturally built yet. Even if there's real interest, moving too fast emotionally can overwhelm the connection and make him take a step back. Then there's the third mistake. Playing games. Some women, instead of just allowing things to develop, start testing him. They pull away to see if he'll chase. They act cold to measure his interest. But all this does is replace clarity with confusion. He was already showing you something real, and now the energy becomes mixed and unclear instead of natural and easy. Another common mistake is ignoring your own feelings completely. You get so focused on whether he likes you that you forget to ask the most important question: do I actually like him? Sometimes his interest feels exciting simply because it validates you, not because there's a real connection. His feelings matter, but yours matter just as much. Then there's the mistake of doing nothing at all. You notice the signs, you're pretty sure he's interested, and instead of meeting him halfway, you wait. You wait for him to make every move, say everything first, and lead everything forward. But healthy attraction isn't about one person carrying the entire connection. It's okay to respond, to show warmth, to make things easier for both of you. And one of the biggest misunderstandings is misreading friendly behavior as romantic interest. Some men are naturally attentive, open, and engaging with everyone. So the key is context. Does he show this level of focus with others too? Or does it feel different with you? That difference tells you everything. Now here's what often happens behind the scenes. Men don't usually pull away just because they suddenly lose interest. More often, they pull back because the interaction starts feeling off. Too much pressure, too much guessing, or not enough mutual response. It's not about chasing harder. It's about staying balanced. When a man feels that you notice his interest, but you're not overwhelmed by it, something important shifts. You stay warm, open, and grounded, but not dependent. And that creates a kind of emotional safety. He feels like he can express himself without being rushed or misread. That safety is what keeps him coming closer instead of pulling away. If you avoid these mistakes, the whole dynamic changes. Instead of tension and confusion, things start to feel natural. There's space for connection to grow without pressure, without guessing, and without unnecessary emotional games. Because at the end of the day, attraction doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in clarity, comfort, and emotional balance between two people who are both showing up in a real way. And once you understand that, you also understand something even more important: how to keep his interest once you've got it. The first thing to realize is this: men don't stay interested because everything is perfect. They stay interested because being around you feels good, easy, and emotionally safe. Not heavy, not complicated, just comfortable. The second key is keeping your own life intact. One of the quickest ways attraction fades is when someone drops everything else the moment a guy shows interest. Friends, hobbies, goals, everything gets replaced with him. But ironically, that's when attraction starts to drop. What originally drew him in was your own life, your own energy, your own direction. Then there's space. Real attraction needs breathing room. If you're always available, always present, always initiating, there's no space for anticipation or curiosity. A little distance allows feelings to grow naturally instead of getting rushed. Emotional stability also matters more than people realize. Things won't always be perfectly clear. Sometimes he'll be quiet, distracted, or distant, and it may have nothing to do with you. If you can stay calm instead of reacting emotionally every time something feels uncertain, you build trust instead of tension. And finally, real connection grows through shared experiences. Not just texting, not just talking, the actual moments, laughing together, trying new things, having real conversations, building memories. That's what turns early attraction into something deeper and more meaningful. Because in the end, keeping a man interested isn't about control, games, or perfection. It's about creating a space where both people feel comfortable, understood, and free to be themselves. And when that happens, interest doesn't just stay, it actually grows. Now, stepping back for a moment, everything we've covered really comes down to one simple shift: learning to see clearly instead of guessing. Before this, you might have found yourself stuck in that familiar cycle, overthinking messages, analyzing behavior, and trying to figure out what someone might feel. But once you understand how attraction actually shows up physically, that confusion starts to fade, because it's no longer about guessing from texts or words.
It becomes about observing real behavior, attention, orientation, presence, consistency. And once you see that, you stop doubting yourself so much. You stop chasing answers that aren't there. You start recognizing what's real in front of you. But there's one thing that always matters more than any sign or signal: your own sense of self-worth. No man becomes more interested in you just because you decode him perfectly. Real attraction grows when you're grounded, confident, and comfortable in who you are. So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this: you don't need to control feelings, you just need to understand behavior clearly and stay true to yourself in the process. When you do that, everything becomes simpler. You stop guessing, you start knowing. And that's exactly what changes dating from something confusing into something clear, calm, and real.